Recently, I subscribe to a lot of the prepper channels, okay? Like the different people that prep, some of them are crazier than others. If you're not some sort of a prepper by this time after 9/11, you're an idiot. If you're not prepared, like the Department of Homeland Security says at ready.gov, with 2 weeks worth of stuff and basic medical supplies and extra medication and extra food and extra dietary da-da-da-da-da, you're an idiot, okay? The Department of Homeland Security gives you a resource on what to have and what you need to have in case stuff happens. And there are looming shortages due to labor shortages and things like that. And the good news is a lot of the things that we're going to have shortages of is processed, super refined foods. Okay? And I think I might even put a video of Chris Haria in the description where he was trying to eat fast food as opposed to healthy food. And I'm not a big fan of Chris Haria. I think he's overblown. But it was funny because somebody sent me the video and goes, look, this is you trying to eat fast food. And it's accurate. It's me trying to eat refined food. It's disgusting. I can't stand most refined food. And that's because I've been eating whole food, predominantly whole food, my whole life, okay? And when you have eaten whole food predominantly your whole life, the hyper-refined foods, such as that you get at a fast food place or things like that, are devoid of flavor. They don't really have much flavor, and the flavors that they do have are artificial and overpowering. So what you're going to see with this labor shortage is a shortage of things like snack cakes, layer cakes, soda, chips, pretzels, just refined garbage. And what the worst case scenario is that a lot of people are going to have to figure out how to cook predominantly vegetarian foods. Now, we've dealt with this before in our history during the Great Depression. And in fact, I'm going to link a channel in the description called Depression Era Cooking with Clara. Okay, one of my favorite channels on YouTube. And don't worry, she's an omnivore, she's not a vegan. But the thing is, the worst case scenario is a lot of foods, everybody's worried, oh, these containers, these container ships, they can't get into the country and the da-da-da-da-da. A lot of food is grown in the United States. A lot of the food that I eat, predominantly rice and beans and other vegetables, are grown in the United States or Mexico or Canada. A lot of the food that I consume comes from one of those three countries. And there's not any container ships involved in the shipment of things from Mexico or Canada. At least not that I'm aware of. There may be, I don't know. But I don't think that would be economically sensible. But then again, what is economically sensible these days? Okay. So, what I wanted to get into is everybody wants to go, oh, well, what are we going to do? There's labor shortages, there's job shortages, there's Remember Andrew Yang and basic income? Why did Andrew Yang support basic income? There's a little thing called automation. Now, I didn't first learn about the use of mass automation from Andrew Yang. In fact, I would have never voted for Andrew Yang. Never, because he sounded like an idiot that was just giving away free stuff. He started with free money, and then he went into free psilocybin mushrooms for mental illness. I mean, he just kept expanding what he was giving away for free. The only way I'm voting for Andrew Yang is if he's running as VP on a Tulsi Gabbard, on a Gabbard Yang ticket. And even then I will have reservations, but I will still do it to get Tulsi Gabbard in office. My point is, mass automation is a good thing. It will liberate workers from working, and there will be basic income. There will have to be. And there will be two classes of people. Those that want to live and have their basic needs fulfilled, by automation, okay, by the state. We will move toward techno-communism. There is no doubt in my mind that we will move to fully automated techno-communism to an extent. And then there will be another tier of society. And that tier will be those that choose to work in the new sphere. The new sphere is a concept that was created by a Soviet philosopher and a more popular philosopher who I am very much a fan of, the Jesuit theologian Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Although Pierre Teilhard de Chardin was excommunicated from the Catholic Church for making too much sense and wanting to transform Catholicism into a pantheistic religion. Now, who made me aware of automation originally? Well, Dr. Pierce did. And I'm not going to elaborate on Dr. Pierce. Those that watch my channel know who Dr. Pierce is. I'm just going to say Dr. Pierce. Dr. Pierce was a rocket scientist and a physics professor at Caltech University, amongst other things that involved politics and political action. He actually left his job at NASA and at Caltech to try his damnedest to liberate a certain segment of society from oppression. And unfortunately, he failed. But in the process, he disseminated many amazing ideas. Many amazing ideas. He is the creator of the religion cosmotheism. But beyond that, he has talked about many things on his radio show, and many things in the periodical of his organization, which will remain nameless because I want my video to stay up. One of those was the use of automation. And the reason why is everybody says, oh, we have worker shortages. How are we going to pick the tomatoes? How are we going to harvest the lettuce? We just don't know. Now, Dr. Pierce, who was a computer programmer, this is going back to the 70s. He was a computer programmer, a rocket scientist, a physicist, and a philosopher, suggested in the early 1990s that the United States begin to automate certain low-level jobs so that we don't have to rely on transporting the third world into the first world as a means to fill these openings, which would irreparably change. I didn't say harm before people accuse me of saying, I did harm. No, I did not, and people know my views, I think by now, my very nuanced views on this. But he didn't want to see the United States demographics to be so thrown off that a certain segment of the population would cease to exist, as is currently the case, or at least as is currently the trend. Okay? So he recommended the use of automation in the process of automating low-level jobs. Now, people will go, well, what are people going to do all day if they don't work? People are just going to lose their minds. Well, if people don't work all day, they're going to be able to do other things, like raise their families. The modern workday is a modern invention. Okay, the modern work week is a modern invention. When we were an agrarian society, we didn't work like we work now. We worked less, we had more downtime, and we had more family time. It wasn't until industrialization that we had a modern work week. Ironically, it is the Industrial Revolution, which eventually led to the Information Revolution, which has led to the Automation Revolution, which will liberate the workers from working. And then people will go, well, how will we know who's important? Well, there's going to need to be a shift in how to acquire status in a labor-free society, or a mostly labor-free society. People will have to be valued for who they are, not what they do. too many people identify themselves as, I'm a carpenter, I'm a plumber, I'm a surgeon, I'm a lawyer. No, you're a human being. That's what you are, and it's time that you reclaim that. And it's also important to understand that there are some jobs that, generally speaking, probably won't be replaced by artificial intelligence. And this is where we get into the new sphere. But let's get into some of the things that are going to be replaced with artificial intelligence and automation. The growing of food can be fully automated. Growing food can be fully automated. Okay? Vegetable farming can be fully automated. Fruit farming, etc., can be fully automated. There will be a mass move toward fully functioning, fully automated vertical farms that are hydroponic and aeroponic and are indoor, that will give people not only a sustainable food source that doesn't impact the environment, but also a year-round resource of healthy fruits and vegetables. As we know, in Tibet, when the Communist Party of China began building greenhouses for the Tibetan people, their health improved because now they had access to fresh produce, something that Tibetans didn't have access to before China asserted dominance over the Tibetan region. And once these vertical farms go up, and once people have access year-round to whole, fresh produce, you will see their health improve. What about meat? How are we going to see, what's meat going to look like in the future? Well, meat will be, flesh, actual flesh, will adhere to the concepts of ahimsa, dietary nonviolence. How is this possible? How, you ask? Well, through cell-cultured beef, cell-cultured pork, cell-cultured fowl, cell-cultured fish. And you will see this. This will be the future of food. It will have to be the future of food. The creation, if you look in the description, this is all in the description. Construction will be fully automated. You will see fully automated printing of homes. Fully sustainable homes like earthships. You will see the 3D printing of meat, like I said. Biologically, these foods will be what they are. Okay, and then let's go forward to the assembly, the cooking of these foods. You will see fully automated fast food. Boom, boom, you punch in on your smartphone or in a kiosk. The machine makes it fresh to order. This is current technology. This isn't just current technology. This is technology that's 20, 30 years old at this time. Some countries have begun to implement these things already, like Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, China, etc. Who's not implementing it? The United States. What is standing in the way of a fully automated society with a liberated working class? The greed of the elites. Okay? Why is the greed of the elites standing in the way of a fully automated, fully liberated working class? Where the working class can dedicate themselves to living life like they're meant to. Dedicating themselves to physical, mental, and emotional excellence. Well, because if everybody's doing well, this is the same thing that got in the way of Peronism, why Juan Perón was deposed. When the poor start doing as well as the rich, or not even as well as the rich, but just start doing well, the rich get really, 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 really angry because they don't understand. They believe that in order for them to be rich, there has to be poor, there has to be underlings. What's the point of having a whole bunch of money if your standard of living is only somewhat better than the poorest of the poor? Now, as I've stated in the past, people, I'm a big fan of the Andean cultures and the Mesoamerican cultures and the Minoan cultures. Something about these primeval cultures, they just, they excite me in some way. Even the Celtic, ancient Celtic cultures and things like that. And as I've said, you can judge the worth of a civilization not by how well the rich do, but by how well the poorest of the poor do. In Mayan civilization, Gonzalo Guerrero, the father of the first mestizos, who became a Mayan. He was a Spaniard that became a Mayan. He did not want to become a Spaniard again because he was better off as a Mayan. Now, Spain was at the top of the food chain in Europe at this time. The Spanish Empire and the British Empire were the two great empires of the world at this time. But Gonzalo Guerrero now remember, the Mayan civilization was in decline at this point. The Aztecs were the highfalutin people in Mexico at this time, in that area, Mexico, Guatemala, etc. However, Mr. Guerrero, Senor Guerrero, preferred Mayan civilization to Spanish civilization. And why? It's a lot easier to be a Mayan. And the Mayan civilization, so if you ask me, who's superior, Spain or the Mayans? Well, who has the most people doing the best? The Mayans. Okay, now there are some issues and things of that nature. It's the same with the Minoans, like from Crete. We know these things to be fact. There are different civilizations that have done better. And there are different civilizations who have taken care of the poorest of the poor, where there were very few hungry people, very few starving people. If you look at the Aztec civilization and the way they would make sure that everyone had enough food. Now, there were superstitions and things like that in the Aztec culture, which the Spanish rightly reacted to the way they did. And the Spanish did liberate a lot of the people from the Aztec Empire and liberated a lot of people from the Incan Empire. But there is much to be said about the Aztec, the Mayan, and the Inca. La Malinche, I believe, was actually Mayan. My point is that if you actually look at this, the only thing that is standing in the way of the true liberation of the individual. This technology is not new, as I said. You're talking about technology that is 30 plus years old. You're talking about technology that Dr. Pierce talked about in the early 90s in his periodical and on his radio program. This is not new technology, and the technology has only gotten better. There is no reason for anyone to be working in fast food. There is no reason for anyone to be working in certain fields of construction or mining or things of this nature. There's no reason. We have the technology to liberate these people. We have the technology to liberate surgeons from performing surgery. It's not just low-end jobs that will be where the workers will be liberated. How many times have you gone to a doctor and been improperly diagnosed? Artificial intelligence is more accurate at diagnosing patients than doctors are. Consider that. Consider that. And then ask yourself, do I want to go to a doctor or do I want to be diagnosed by artificial intelligence? And that's all for this video.